welcome to the program. This is Our Healthy Homes, ourhealthyhomes.com, where we talk about the 4 pillars of a healthy home. We're going to talk about the structure, we talk about the ecosystem, we talk about your physical body, and we talk about your emotional and spiritual well-being. Remember, it's young living or assisted living, and you can make your home a healthy home. And it all begins with you, and it begins right now with the lovely and talented Sheila.
All right. So today, hoping to get to all of my things, because I love talking about so many things. All right, it's a guessing game, Senior.
All right.
How many chemicals
10.
Do you think that we encounter or come in contact with daily?
Oh, my goodness. It's got to be thousands.
Okay, how many thousands?
I
You're
don't
getting
know.
closer.
5,000.
Higher.
No way.
Playing the prices right. Higher.
Cereal?
Higher.
12,000.
Higher.
15,000. 20,000.
Higher.
No way. I
Yes.
give up.
Did you know there are over 85,000 chemicals in our environment that we come into contact with daily?
Wow.
Okay, so let's just put that into perspective. It seems like seasonal things happen, when it goes on for people, and so there is a season for your organs, and you can Google the
I
chart.
love pipe organ,
Okay, yeah, okay, we're not talking about that, though.
Okay, different kind of organ.
And yeah, I got it. And so a lot of my natural information lately is on the liver.
Okay.
Which I love my liver, and hopefully you do too.
With onions or?
Yeah, thanks. And so with that, all of these chemicals are ultimately affecting our organs and our livers, right?
Sure.
So
That's the cleaning tool, right?
That is the cleaning tool.
Yep.
And so I always like to tell people we change the oil in our car. I don't have a fishbowl, but if I did, you would have to clean it because it gets dirty,
Yep.
right? So if you visualize that dirty fishbowl, which I think everybody can, and the change your oil deal, we aren't doing anything to us. Well, I mean, I am, but 80-90% of the world is not detoxing and cleaning their bodies.
Let me ask you a question about that.
Yeah.
So isn't that what the liver's job is, to clean it out and then you just poop it out? Isn't that, it's kind of like built into the program, right?
Okay. It is.
Yeah.
Right? But when you change the oil in your car, it only goes so many miles.
Right.
Right? When we live in the world that we live in with all the processed foods and all the those chemicals that we come into contact with, our sad American diet and lack of exercise, the liver has so much work to do that it can't keep up with all the bad stuff that we're doing. Okay, we used to be able to, but then we were a different society and we lived differently, back then, that we didn't have to worry about it as much as we do now.
So what you're saying, if I'm understanding correctly,
Okay. All right.
is that when you change the oil in your car, part of that process is to change the filter. Well, the liver is the filter, but it's a permanent filter, so you can't change it.
Right.
Unless you're
clean it.
But you can clean it.
Clean it.
All right.
Yes, and detox it.
All right.
So, for
So
example,
detoxing is another word for cleaning.
yes.
Okay.
So I always like to tell people, let's put this into perspective. So, okay, for example, I can talk about my experiences, right? So when my liver was failing and functioning 35%, I mean, what does that look like? Right? Well, that looks like fatigue and no energy and lethargic and digestive issues and just so many different things, right? So when I started with my journey and changing my health over, to work on the liver, there were many things, right? Cleanses and detoxes and build the liver back up and coffee enemas and all the things. I did coffee enemas every other day for 2 years that I had to clean my liver. Now, they're glorious. I know you're probably cringing right now, but
man.
They're lovely.
Nothing better.
There is. And so then, really, there is nothing better. And so then, so now, right, so it's okay, so 10 years ago, the crisis hit, 2 years of detoxing and cleaning the body, and now 8 years of that, my maintenance, if you will, is once a week. All right, so now I do a coffee enema once a week. What I like to tell people, because this catches and makes it sink in, is that if I go to a natural cancer center facility,
Mm-hmm.
how many do you think that you do a day when you're there of coffee enemas?
Oh, it depends.
4.
No way.
Yes, you do 4 a day, right? People are there for months, and you do 4 a day because that liver has got to be able to be. Think of the rusted pipe. Okay, so everybody's got that in their head. The rusted pipe, and it's rusted, and it's corroding, and it's plugged, and we have to rooter, right? So you have to be able to get that open and that organ open and clean, so that then what you're doing to for your health, you have to move it through. Right. So, all right. So chemicals affect how our body and our organs work. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that was the long and short of that. All right.
Chemicals bad.
Chemicals bad. Yes. Right. Okay. So what are some of the people get overwhelmed and they don't know where to start in their house, right? So where do we start with the chemicals?
I just start with getting rid of stuff and replacing it with clean stuff.
Okay, what stuff?
Well, like your dish soap, and I mean that's simple stuff. Dish soap, stuff you wash your floors with, anything that you come in contact with. So surface cleaners, anything like that. Those what you wash your windows with, all of that stuff. Maybe air filters, air purifiers. What am I on the right track?
Yeah, you're on the right track. Okay. So, for our listeners here, so this
is unscripted, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, right. The number one most toxic thing in the house is your dryer sheets. Okay? So why is that? So one of the chemicals, the main chemical in there is phthalates. Mm-hmm. Okay? So that's one of the chemicals that's, going to give us problems.
And you put your clothes on, it's right on your skin.
Well, yeah, and then your armpit, and then you sweat, and then
a little bit, and it gets absorbed, sucked right in. Because your skin is the largest organ in your body. Sucks it right in.
Sucks it right in.
Yep.
Also, when you're detoxing, moves it out.
Okay.
So hives, rashes, things like that when we're detoxing.
Did not know that.
Right, because it's should have remembered that parasite you did that time. Okay, so the dryer sheets or the phthalates, right? Mm-hmm. So go around the house, see what you just take 4 or 5 products. I'm gonna go through some chemicals and write them down and go through the house and see what you have that has these chemicals in them. So the phthalate, the chemical, known to cause fetal development hazards. Mm-hmm. Endocrine disruptor. So I heard that word years ago, never knew what it meant. Adrenals, thyroid, reproductive organs. All right. So that's an endocrine disruptor. Adrenals. Okay. That keeps you going, right? Your thyroid and your reproductive organs. How many people are having problems getting pregnant right now and have for many years? Okay. Respiratory distress. Mm-hmm. Cancer causing. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it affects the nervous system. Okay. So what do? We sub that with wool dryer balls, and we put some essential oils on it. Okay, good. Soaps and detergents have sulfates in them. Okay. So sulfates. Now, soaps and detergents, like that's a big one. You go around your house. You got how many foaming hand soaps? Your dish soap, your laundry soap, your face soap, your body soap. Like when you think soap, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had so many in there. So that is known to cause that sulfate, possible cancer causing, respiratory distress, nervous system impairment, skin irritations, hair loss or thinning, liver toxicity. Mm-hmm. There it is. That's what we were talking about. Okay, so what do we do for that? Well, you and I, buy our Young Living foaming hand soap and laundry soap and dish soap and like all the things.
It's my favorite thing, foaming hand soap.
Foaming hand soap.
Young Living foam. I shave with it. It's so good.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing is you can do so many things with it. Okay. Fragrances, that's the big one. I say that's the F word we need to be concerned with nowadays because that is in everything. And FDA only regulates that the word fragrance be on a bottle, and then that protects that company's trade secret, basically their recipe.
Right.
So
it's a cocktail of chemicals.
Yes. So you don't know there's 80 to 100 or more chemicals associated with that word
Trying
fragrance.
To make it smell like a flower.
Right. So you're buying you're buying Method, you're buying Mrs. Myers lavender fragrance, whatever, right? So if it has the word fragrance in it, ditch it. That's migraines, respiratory distress, skin irritations, cancer-causing, DNA disruptor, and many, many other things. So give me a call. We'll help you clean out the house.
If you want to join the club, go to Our Healthy Homes, ourhealthyhomes.com. Fill out the contact thing. Sheila will reach out to you, and you can get in here. Maybe you'll be able to come to an upcoming show, live broadcast, and you can watch us do the show. Our Healthy Homes, ourhealthyhomes.com. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. We got a fun few minutes here coming up here. We've got Mark Ostrom's with us, and we're going to be talking about the Joy Collaborative, joycollaborative.com. And a couple of things. First of all, we want to talk about how the organization started, what its mission is, and upcoming events that you've got planned. Let's just first back up and start with you. And as the founder of the Joy Collaborative,
why?
What is that? First, what is the Joy Collaborative?
Well, I think the first thing for your listeners, Keith, is don't promise fun. Don't overpromise and underdeliver, because we could be on that train right now.
Okay.
So the Joy Collaborative, our mission is to create empowering spaces for youth with life-limiting conditions.
Okay.
We do that because every person can benefit from a space that supports them.
All right. So now let's get back to that's the mission.
Yep.
How did you think of that mission? What made you think of that mission? And what was your background that enabled you to provide that service?
Mm-hmm. So my original degree going out of college was music ed.
Okay.
And I was going to have the funkiest white band in the western suburbs. That was my dream. We were going to play Stevie Wonder and
there
all
you
that.
go.
And that was my dream. And then my dream got shattered because there were no jobs available.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, why am I doing this?
Right.
And the pay was not great on top of that.
Right,
so I'm like, I either am going to have to work for a small town for a long time, which didn't suit me, or just take a break. So I took a break, went back to school for design, so architecture and interiors. During that time, I had worked with families with cleft palate. So cleft palate is a genetic condition. It's treated when you're young, typically, and that clinic can be very expensive, because there's surgery, there's occupational therapy,
many
therapy,
surgeries,
lots, and it would get very expensive.
Okay.
But I would meet these families. I'd be working with them for a long time. Their claims were constantly being denied. You're not dental. You're not medical.
Oh.
And
well,
so
wait a minute.
Yep.
So how did you go from interior design to cleft palate?
that was my job when I was going to school.
Okay.
So
All right,
I
got
worked
it.
there.
All right.
Smart
understand.
kid. I worked 30 hours a week. They paid my tuition at 75%.
Okay.
God bless the university.
Super.
Thank you for that. So it was an awesome job, but it really got me excited about support for these families.
Okay.
And to deliver a very large check to them after bouncing around for a long time.
Yeah.
And I remember one time a family started crying because they barely made their mortgage payment. And I was like, this is the best job ever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The best job ever.
Mhm.
And so that has stuck with me all these years. My first real built project out of college was the Rainforest Cafe at the Mall of America.
Okay.
And that's really all about experience.
Mhm.
Yes,
entertainment,
right.
And for me to be part of that creative team when I was right out of school, I'm like, this is amazing. Look
Yeah.
what happens when people come into this
Yes.
space.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember when it opened, that 3-hour waits
Oh,
were
yeah.
common.
Yep.
You're not going there for the food.
Right.
No offense, but I mean that was the thing. And I
That
was
was
like,
the thing.
hey, like why can't we bring that kind of energy and excitement to these families who are struggling?
Mm-hmm.
Because those families who are struggling, you can imagine, you're lucky. Maybe you can have 2 jobs between the two of you because you've got to run to all these
Yes,
appointments, or
right.
you're battling with insurance or provider. You're doing all these appointment setups. Like there's a lot of stress on top of the family dynamics if they're siblings and there's just a lot going on. I'm like, how can we help them? And I'm like, we can help them by removing barriers.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we're doing.
Removing barriers. Okay, so let's go through the formation then. So now you're working in industry, you might as well say, in your design
Interior
business,
design,
Mhm.
yep.
and now you decide that you're going to form the Joy Collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
So walk us through that process, and what was that like, and how did you do that?
So I had the idea when I was in college about a pediatric focused design firm.
Okay.
And this was pre-internet, so I did the best research I could. I
Sure.
only
Sure.
found one person in, Israel. I'm like, well, what's going on?
Not going to help.
Like, you must be crazy. Like,
Mhm.
because I'm like, there's people wiser
Right.
than me, like more senior than me. And I was like, okay. So I'd put it away every once in a while. I'd pull it back, and it was like, okay. Well, after my design career, when I decided to move into sales, and I was in sales for a number of years, I got to the point where it was very transactional for me. There was no people element here. There was no design necessarily aspect to it. And I was diagnosed with depression. And I was like, well, this ain't going to last.
Right.
And so I'm like, all right, I knew what I needed to do.
Right.
And I was called to do this work. I'm absolutely convinced. And just basically started. I took that business plan out. I'm like, this is what we're going to do. Called it Make-A-Wish. They gave me probably one of the hardest projects I think we'll ever have in the history of our company.
Was that your first one? Wow.
What was that?
There were 2 previous designers who backed out of the project. It was for a family of 6. And they had this boy, Kodiak. Kodiak had Charge syndrome, which is a super rare genetic disorder. Every letter is a condition that you have.
Okay.
So he was, at the time, I'm going to forget, 13, deaf, blind, cognitively delayed, not taking to Braille, GI issues.
Yeah.
So he can't read a book, he can't watch a movie. So his family is on watch 24/7. His house is locked from the inside because he'll break.
Bolt.
And so when I met him for the first time, and I'll never forget, it was awesome. It was a Saturday morning, and his sister had a sleepover the night before. And so it was a little, the house was kind of turned upside down a little bit. And we're in the dining room, and he comes around the corner with this giant carving knife that he picked up from the kitchen. And his mom's like, normal behavior in their house, not in mine.
Right. Yeah.
And but it just really struck home, like how quickly things can change for somebody like Kodiak.
Yes.
And so it was really all about working with his care team, and there was the Deaf Blind Association. There were all these different people who we consulted with on the project, his teachers and all this stuff. And so we created a 14 by 14. The family had left a room that was 14 by 14 by 14. And we created a lofted space called Kodiak's Den. That was a multi-sensory space. So he could then be left there for a period of time by himself.
Sure.
So there was a slide. There was one of our amazing plumbers made a xylophone for him out of copper tubing.
Wow.
There was locked storage because he was rifling all the time. Like he's rifling through all his stuff trying to find the thing. Well, mom spends 2 hours cleaning up, and then 10 minutes later the bomb went off again.
Right.
So we had to control that and make it look good, and all these different activities for him in there, whether it was he loved being read to, even though he wasn't comprehending necessarily, but just a cozy space for the vibration. And I mentioned the plumbing pipe xylophone thing, so he'd love that. So it was the hardest assignment I think we'll ever have. Is all the sensory inputs that are dysregulated.
Right.
So how did you make the determination then of what to do when he's got so many challenges? I mean, what was going to be effective? What was going to you thought, this is going to be the greatest thing ever, and then he ignores it.
Well, we spent a lot of time with the family, and like I said, we bring in these other specialists who work with him specifically.
Okay.
So we get
they had experience.
Yeah, we're not just guesstimating. Right. Oh, we're going to try. No. It was like he loves slides. Right? He loves these particular textures. He loves bark. He loves climbing. So we had removable climbing walls in there that the dad could set up. There were safety harnesses and stuff that he could go up and down and then take it away. And all of a sudden, underneath the lofted space, there's a swing and a hammock where he could be by himself and hang out with his dogs. So it was really about how much variety can we build into this small footprint for somebody who's seeking. And
how long was that project?
Well, the project unfortunately was longer than expected because his older sister had leukemia.
Oh, geez.
And it came back.
No, it's a devastating
before we started construction, and she passed. And so there was a pause of 6 months. Probably it was super hard. I mean, you can imagine. On top of everything else, super hard. So you asked me a question: how long did it take? But I wanted to answer with, not only did it take a long time to get it done, but we're having our celebration party. We have to bring all these therapists in, and the teacher, and the family, and the friends, whatever. And the dad, who's this big burly like security installer guy, Phil is just this big macho guy, and he pulls me aside and he was crying. I'm gonna lose it. This is 6 years ago.
Right.
He's crying and he's like, Mark, last week we had 2 other young people over from Kodiak School, And that was the first time he ever had friends over.
Wow.
And he's
But
15.
He's going to school. He's 15 years
He's
old.
special needs,
Yeah,
special
Yes,
needs.
yeah, right.
But he had never had friends over to his house.
Wow.
And I sat there and I
Wow.
was just like, wow. And I keep calling it the rainforest effect.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Like,
sure.
If you have the coolest space,
Yes.
people come.
Right.
So that's what happens, and we've seen that happen time and time again. Now, there's a lot of control that has to happen with
Yes,
people
right,
accessing
right,
your space.
Right, right.
And that we have the opposite problem. My favorite story, we talked about this person before we got on the phone, or before we got on the podcast, and she had the opposite problem where she called me on a Saturday, and she's like, I've got 10-year-olds in here who won't leave the house. So now she has the
they love
opposite
it.
problem,
Yeah.
and her biggest fear was her son growing up alone because
Yeah.
of his disability.
Sure.
Right, right.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's got
So
to
it
be
was-
a fear for
it was just
everybody.
The
It's
best and worst call.
Okay,
at the
we
same
got
time.
48 seconds
Okay.
left. I want to just get in
Yes.
in this segment, so just a mention of the Jingle and Mingle. Tell us what that event is about and when it is, and just the details on the event, Jingle and Mingle.
So it's an open event, open to the community, anybody who'd like to come. We have a co-host in Sheila, and just be careful. But that's just amazing. You guys, this is year number 3. It's a fun night.
It is a fun
It's
night.
a fun night. We try to build fun into it. It is a fundraiser for us. We need fuel in the tank. We're a nonprofit.
Right.
End of story. Right. But this year, we've got fancy Mr. Macy's Santa Claus showing up. We're using your pool to
Yep.
do a bracket game. So it'll be a good time, and you get to hear about the mission and meet other people who are supporters.
Jingle and Mingle at the Healthy Home Mansion, 4705 Hittner Point. We'll get more details on that right after these messages. Hey, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. We're speaking with Mark Ostrom from the Joy Collaborative. When we went out to break, we were talking about the Jingle and Mingle event. That's at November 8th
Yep.
at the Healthy Home Mansion, 4705 Hittner Point. Go on our website, ourhealthyhomes.com. And
Click on the events tab.
click on the events tab, and you can see it. Register there so we can get a head count, number of people coming, and Sheila will connect with you and give you the details on that. It is a fundraising event, and a lot of fun going on there. What are some of the contributors that are helping the Joy Collaborative, and what kind of help do you need?
Well, in nonprofit, the rule is time, treasure, talent.
Okay.
So the treasure's coming from donors, people doing through the year, whatever. Like, that's the treasure part, which is great, and that can be anybody from $5 or $10 donation up to some of our corporate funders, which is
Amazing.
So the time part is whatever you're interested in.
Mhm.
What's interesting to me is the quickest way to get past stress, which is so prevalent right now, is to do something for somebody else.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. I
And
agree.
Yes.
you don't have to spend money to do it.
Exactly.
You could reach out to us and say, hey, I love Sheila. I'd love to plan events.
Yeah.
Where can I help?
Yep.
Like something as simple as that. We can decide how we work together, and we've got things going on all year round. So there's no lack of places to plug people in. And then the talent comes from not only our designers and builders who help make our joy rooms, but it's also our board of incredibly talented and smart, dedicated people. It's people who help us with accounting, legal, all the stuff you need for regular business. But as a nonprofit, it's a little bit different. You're relying in some cases on volunteers to make that happen. So,
And then, of course, money.
Always money.
absolutely, they
Yep,
got to put
always.
fuel in the tank. I
Right.
mean, this is a big year for us. I see growth ahead of us because you're talking to the only full-time employee of Joy Collaborative, and that's not sustainable, right? That's never going to grow with one.
Yep.
So the need is great, and the workers are few, as they say.
And they can go to joycollaborative.org
100%.
and look at the events that are coming up. We would love to see you at the house on November 8th.
Absolutely.
And so go to the events tab and check it out. Check out the other event.
So you've got more projects probably coming, and more requests than you can possibly fulfill. So what's the vetting process like? Just to kind of walk us through that for someone who's listening to, oh, God, my
Grand.
grandchild needs help.
Well, it's kind of a twofold problem. It's kind of a chicken and egg. It's like without more staff, we can't deliver more projects.
Mm-hmm.
So we're stuck right now. We've got 20 requests in the pipeline right now.
Okay.
We're averaging 4 projects a year. So if it's your friend, you're waiting a long time at this point. And
Right.
that's the reason for us to focus on this growth aspect.
Okay.
and
So
how
if you
we
can
get-
raise funds, you can hire people.
That's
you can
right.
do-
That
you can
is
do
our
more
goal. That is,
So when you look at a project to do,
Mhm.
how do you screen them?
Yeah.
I mean, because you can't do them all.
No. we can't do them all. And now we're at a point of it can't become first come, first serve.
No.
Because we are a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're doing this year is leaning into revenue generating projects.
Okay.
And those can be very healthy for us to do because people see the work.
Such as
I don't know if you haven't been to the Firefighters for Healing project, have
No.
you? Okay. So that's attached by Skyway to Hennepin Health.
Okay.
It's a space for burn survivors.
All right.
Specifically children. Burn is the most painful recovery process in healing. Through that, there were some leaders at M Health who saw it and were excited by it and called and said, basically, when can you start? So we are now designing the first of 4 spaces for them for outpatient mental health.
Oh.
3 are outpatient mental health. 1 is another project that's coming along. But to your point, to vet our projects, it has to be, does it make sense for us to do this?
Mm-hmm.
And so what we just had a board meeting where we're not really flipping the script, but it's like if we want to survive, we have to lean into where the money is coming.
Right.
We have to do that first. And then the in-kind projects like
Yes.
the Kodiak project can be a spin-off of the generosity that we pull into the
Sure.
Joint Collaborative.
So then those projects for mHealth or whether are paid for
Mhm.
projects.
Yeah.
Now that you got a revenue stream,
Mhm.
now you can take the revenues and use it to
Right.
fund.
But we still
individual
have
projects.
the accounting fees. We
Mhm.
still have the business
Absolutely.
fees. So to be able to kind of work both sides of it as a nonprofit, it was like this was just added a lot of clarity
Mm-hmm.
to me. And it's a model like Tom Shoes, if you know Tom Shoes, other companies in kind of the social benefit space
Mm-hmm.
where that's how they operate. And so we can still pursue grants as a nonprofit toward any number of projects. So to us, it's like we kind of had the cart before the horse.
Right.
And now we got to have the horse come first.
because that's
Right.
where you're at.
Because that's where we're at, and that again will lead us to growth. And that is our vision for this, for our company, is that we have a design division who can then take all of these projects on and help with that pipeline.
And the design division is within the Joy
Yes.
Collaborative, so it's part of the nonprofit. It's just that
that's
just
our vision for the future. It
Okay.
doesn't exist today. Right
Okay.
now, we're using in-kind goods and services
Right.
from the design community.
And then
Yep.
from that design community, I mean,
Mhm.
it's just like how do you, who steps up, or how do you reach out to them? Because it's a never-ending thing.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, it's just
Yep.
like Sheila and I would get calls like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we have no talent, so that so the
It's a
only thing that's
special
left is
talent.
money. So, but the thing of it is it never ends.
Yeah.
And so a carpenter or a plumber or
Mm-hmm.
a pipe fitter says, yes, I'll do this. And all of a sudden, before he's done, there's another one he could do. And pretty soon it's like, hey, I got a business to run over here.
Yeah, we have a pretty robust database
Okay.
of people that we can pull from. A typical project for us has 30 volunteers of varying skill sets, from the plumber to the contractor to the roofer to the building supplier.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the value of these projects, once you add that all up, is significant.
Yes,
is
I
very
bet.
significant.
I bet.
So we have to balance what we can do realistically with our employee against the demand. And so you asked about the vetting process, if I can talk about that a second.
Yeah.
So, because we're dealing a lot of times with volunteers, I'll go to a typical Joy Room project. We have to make sure it's safe
Mm-hmm.
for 30 volunteers to
Oh,
come in.
sure.
So, we have an online application. Anybody can fill out an application. We'll screen the person over the phone, make sure it feels like a fit. We really need to make sure that they're energized about the project as opposed to a gimme,
Okay.
because we have had that.
Right.
And if somebody's just into it for the free thing,
Yeah.
Oh,
we don't get the best results.
Okay.
It has to be
Mhm.
somebody who's really struggling. There's some really stress that we can handle, that really wants to be part of a team
Okay.
rather than just a recipient.
Okay.
So there's a lot of nuance that goes on here. We present them to the board, and then the board, we try to figure out based
All
on
right.
capacity and what's already in the pipeline, what we can move forward with.
Tell us about your board then.
Oh my gosh. So I started the company in 2020. We became a sanctioned nonprofit. We think we had a board of 3,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of a friends and family thing, and we
Yeah.
did what we could with
Sure.
3 people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're a board of 10, working our way towards 15 in the next 2 years. And we have expertise from accounting, legal, marketing, events, strategy, communications, fundraising, And then just community connections in
Mhm.
general, because that's really important, right, as we're out talking to new people. So that's what the board looks like. We meet on a regular basis. They are incredibly motivated. It's a blessing to have these people. I mean, I look and go, where did you come from?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
right.
You know, how did this happen? You know, the Joy Mobile, we're not going to have time probably to talk about it, but we went from 4 volunteers last year to 150 this year.
Wow.
And a request from the fair to come back. So, I mean, it's just how. I step
Yeah.
back and go, how?
How'd
You know,
that
it was me
happen?
working at my kitchen table for a long time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Need
What-
somebody to just catch the dream with you, and there you go. Which
Right.
you did. Which you have, right.
So we're talking about the Joy Collaborative, and it's joycollaborative.org.
Yeah.
Okay, I said .com and the last is .org.
Mm-hmm.
Joycollaborative.org. They can find all about it. There's some pictures on there and
100%.
some information on there. If someone wants to go there and they can do some research on their own and just kind of find out, get a feel for what the organization is about. We're having an event on November 8th at the Healthy Home Mansion. I encourage you to go online to ourhealthyhomes.com, and there's a tab. Click on the events tab. You can
Just
connect
scroll
with
down to
Sheila
it.
on there,
They're itemized by
or
date.
go to joycollaborative.org
Yep.
and register there. Easy to do. We're trying to get a handle on the head counts in terms of stuff. Lots of fun events. Are
We
going
got
to
some
be going
silent
on.
auction. Yep, we got a silent auction going. So if
Mhm.
you've got a silent auction item you would love to donate, we will take it. The tickets are
$20.
$20, and you
Food
pay.
and beverage included.
What's that?
I said food and a drink ticket included.
Yes, and some fun games and the best Santa around for sure.
And if you're listening, and if you have some influence with a corporate entity of any size that maybe would have a need for some kind of a facility or a room or a holding area. I don't know if I call it a holding area, but you know what I mean. Just an area that could use some design help. For sure, call and give you an opportunity to sit down and plan something out and maybe put your organization really above and beyond. I'm just thinking of health clubs. Look at all the health clubs around.
100%.
Like we're founders of
Lifetime.
Lifetime, and there's a lot of work that could be done there in some of those things all over
100%.
the Twin Cities, all
100%.
over the country. Actually, that would be a fabulous thing. We're out of town for this segment. When we come back,
Out of town. We're out of time.
out of time for this segment when we come back. The Joy Collaborative Jingle and Mingle, November 8th. Check it out. Bring your checkbook.
And a friend.
And a friend. There
And
you
a
go.
friend.
There you go.
We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. We got Mark Ostrom in the studio talking about the Joy Collaborative, the joycollaborative.org. The Jingle and Mingle is the big event that's coming up at the mansion November 8th. We're all excited about it. Got lots of some games going on there. Got a silent auction going on. It's a fundraiser, no kidding. Trying to I like that term, put fuel in the tank so that they can do more projects going forward. What are some other examples of projects? You gave a couple of them in the previous segments about some projects that you've done, bigger projects. What are some of the smaller things that you've done for individual, like a kid?
Mm-hmm. So we, well, I'm very proud of, you mentioned larger projects and that. But, excuse me, I'm very proud of a project that we've been doing for Bridge for Youth, which is a homeless shelter for kids as young as 10 in Minneapolis.
Oh, wow.
We've been working with them for 3 years, and
Wow.
phase 1 just got completed.
What
So
was phase 1?
Phase 1 was a renovation of the public and guest spaces, the resident rooms.
Okay.
That 2 comments that came very clear back from the youth
Mm-hmm.
were, we're coming from homeless,
Chaos.
coming from absolute without and
Battered. I mean,
trauma.
Yeah.
to a space that's depressing.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Oh.
staff is trying to build trust with these kids,
Right.
these youth. And so to now come in, refresh it, make it purposeful, open it up, bring sunlight in. It was very gloomy before.
Mm-hmm.
To refresh it and make it a place of optimism is really exciting. So that's just a badge of pride for us. But smaller projects, you can look at our Joy Room page. We did a treehouse last year for a boy with cystic fibrosis who needs to stay healthy. We talked about liver, so if his liver goes, he goes, and so he takes 40 pills a day. So him staying healthy is paramount to his family. We just finished a room for or outdoor space for a girl who was a heart transplant recipient. She was under 1 year old for that surgery. Then at 6, she had some lung issues, had half of a lung removed, and got COVID while in the hospital. So talk about a resilient little whippersnapper. And we did a bunkhouse theater space for her.
It was so cute.
And it's on Instagram now and getting a lot of views. But really it was about supporting her, who maybe had been a little bit introverted before, but now her pride and her encouragement of bringing friends and creating these plays together. It's just the energy is just so fantastic. And she's become a little leader in the last short time that she's had this project. And her parents are just like bowled over. Her parents didn't expect that. They didn't expect that. Right?
How do most parents hear about Joy?
Well, referrals come in from all over the place. Like you could, we've had surgeons refer their patients, so it can come from anywhere. Friends, family, board members have referred other people. So general public.
Okay. It must be so difficult because you have so much work that you could do, and the vision is so great, and it isn't just isolated to the Twin City metropolitan area. I mean,
100%.
This need is national and global.
Correct.
And it's just like, okay, so how do you fund it?
Yeah.
How do you get the resources? Are there government grants available that you can write grants for that provide funding on a continuing basis? Because a one-off deal is great, it's welcomed and we're grateful for it and needed because it solves an immediate problem of we got to keep the lights on, but it doesn't allow for long-term planning, and so how do you do that?
So contrary to these single-family projects, if we look at serving larger organizations, or I should say organizations that serve a larger demographic or population, then yes, there are grants available to serve those with disability, mental health, stress, whatever those are. The interesting part, and we're starting to navigate this as well with people who are more seasoned than we, is we are in a niche. We have created our own niche. We're in between, let's say, Habitat for Humanity and a wish-granting organization, right? Hawaii as a trip. Like, we're not going to do that.
Right.
We're not going to build a home from scratch.
Right.
But we're in between creating these experiences in these spaces. So from a grantor's perspective, we're a unique animal. So we have to work on building relationships in advance of those grants going out so that people understand what the impacts are to who's ever at the center that we're serving, because there is a ripple effect and there is a benefit to community. So that a long answer to your question, but that's how we will advance, is starting to tap into those larger county, state, federal grants that are available.
That's on the secular side. What about faith-based organizations? Have you had any conversations with faith-based organizations, the Catholic Church or the Christian churches or whatever? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I've had probably maybe 3 in the last couple of years where I put them in. We have active projects and the development projects, and if it's not going forward, it's in development. There's for sure been at least 3 or 4 faith-based organizations that have come where it just didn't work out, where it makes sense to do it. It makes sense to do it, especially if you're doing kind of a DEI initiative within your church, or you want to build inclusion or whatever it is. Like, families may not be coming because they're worried about what might happen.
Yeah, and they don't have the needs for my child, right?
Right.
Explain that. Families might.
So think of let's. I've just talked to a mom today. She's got a 5-year-old with autism.
Okay.
They don't go places because they're worried about him melting down.
Okay.
And it may take them a lot of time to prep him to go to whatever place that they're going.
Okay.
So maybe they have a desire to go to service.
Yes, right.
And they're just like, well, we're not going to do that because he's going to scream his head off, and then we all have to leave, and it's embarrassing, and blah, blah, blah. But if there was a way to, not a crying room, but we've seen those kinds of spaces, if there's a way to build it into a facility, then why not do it?
I believe our church, Trinity Evangelical in Lakeville, they have one Friday night a month where you as parents can come and bring your children, and they do have some people there that are for the special needs.
Mm-hmm. So the Joymobile would be a perfect example
perfect.
where you would bring the Joymobile to that.
Yeah,
event.
you could. Yeah, exactly.
And,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. What about? I'm just thinking about our Restored. So our church has started a group called Restored, another nonprofit.
It's a thrift store.
It's a thrift store, and they've now donated about $1.5 million to other nonprofits. That's their mission, is to raise money and
to go back into the
and
community.
give that money to other nonprofits. I mean, that's their whole mission. And so that's what is that, 5 years old maybe? And
5 years, and they also opened one in Stillwater.
Right.
So they have a second one that they opened in Stillwater.
So
you can take your donations to Restored in Lakeville or Stillwater, and know that your money is going to do something good with it.
That's awesome. We're working, Keith. You'll maybe like this. So every year I add a big audacious goal to our. And a couple of years ago, I had this notion. I've had it for a long time, actually. And it goes back to the dentistry experience. Is could we create a sensory dental clinic?
Mm-hmm.
And there are things that are being done that maybe are okay. I don't think they're on the level of something that we might manifest or design.
Mm-hmm.
But we are talking now with, I think they're the largest practitioner in the state of specialty dental services
Wow.
about creating new experiences for their patients. And I am so bloody excited. It is like I said, it's a dream to make. So, and it goes back to rainforest. So I'm challenging our team. Now, dental pain is a thing, right?
Yes.
Right. I can't wave a
Right,
magic
right,
wand with our
right.
designers and say,
Right.
but could we?
But the fear of addressing it
Yes.
is a real thing.
It's
that
a
you
huge
can,
barrier.
Yes.
Caries in children is the number one controllable disease across the country. Is tooth decay
Oh, it's
for
huge.
children.
Yeah, it's huge. Your mouth is huge.
So could we turn it around, and could we actually make the dental clinic a destination?
Mm-hmm.
Could we make it a place you want to go to?
Yes, right.
That there's something that we can build into it, and it doesn't have to be grandiose, but what could we do to really get past that? And I think there's a number of things we can do before, during, and after care to make that happen. But that's just
I mean,
super
over the years,
exciting.
how many dentists have put in the big fish tank, right? So you come in and they want you to have, want to relax you and calm you, and
Right.
the kids get, so
Get
How many kids
mesmerized.
are excited by the plastic bag and the toothbrush?
Yeah,
exactly, right.
Can we even count one?
Yeah, no.
I don't know. There probably is some future hygienist who'd love
Yeah.
that. But, I mean, it's just,
So
what
then-
else? It's like
Right.
the rainforest. Like, what?
Yes.
So then, what is what I'm hearing is it's difficult to focus.
Well, that's every day.
I mean, I am because you know how it is. I mean, you got a business, whatever
Right.
the business. I don't care what it is, profit, non-profit. But if they focus on something and specialize in something, then what you focus on expands.
Yep.
And when you've got this laid at your feet, where your focus is design, and that design application can fit so many different
Yeah, entities.
applications.
Yes, right.
Then
Where do you
at
stop
some
thinking?
point,
Right,
at some
creating.
point you say, okay, we're going to do dentistry, and we're going to do it all over the country. We're going to be the best there is at doing this. Do you do that, or
Well, actually, in a way. So the Joymobile that was at the fair, you and I talked about this. So we had 2,000 visitors, and roughly 25% of them left and said, wow, like, could you do this in my house?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
So can we take the concept and modularize it so that it can be a retail product?
Mm-hmm.
So we're working with another special needs organization about what could those pieces be. And then we'll have to work with somebody else on distribution, that
Sure.
kind of a
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
But, so that's a way for us to take some of the ideas and roll them out.
Some of
on
the
a broader
basic
scale.
ideas that would cover a lot of people's homes that have, a lesser issue, with the child. Like,
More of a
let's-
DIY application.
Let's just
That's
say like
exactly it.
autism,
That's
right?
exactly
like autism
Yep.
has XYZ, right?
Mhm.
The child you were talking about earlier that has 7 different things. That's not
That's a different deal.
exactly right, but you
Yep.
could.
We need, to your point, we're moving away, not moving away, but that will be a study in moving away from everything being custom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Right,
right, custom.
right.
Yes, exactly. Wow. Thank
That's
you.
it. Wow, ran out of time already this week. Quick hour. This is Our Healthy Homes. It's young living or assisted living. You can make your home a happy home, and you can make it much more joyful with the joycollaborative.org. The Jingle and Mingle, November 8th, kids. Come out to the mansion. You're more than welcome.
Love
Just
to
check
see
it
ya.
out, ourhealthyhomes.com.
But when he calls me sugar, I love that man with all my might. Sugar in the morning, sugar in the afternoon. Sugar after dinner, sugar in every room. He says I'm sweet as I can be. When he calls me that name, it does things to me. I tell him, honey, you can call me sugar.